Good morning and happy Thursday to all of you from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. In Denmark, whose mainland part is the smallest one of the five Nordic countries in Northern Europe, or if you prefer the term Scandinavian countries, parliamentary elections were held yesterday on June the 5th, 2019. The Danish parliament, or Folketinget, literally People's Court, has 179 members, of whom 175 are elected in mainland Denmark, 2 are elected in Faroe Islands in the North Atlantic, and then roughly between Norway and Iceland. And then the remaining 2 parliamentarians are elected in Greenland, a large Arctic island which geographically already belongs to North America. While the results are not yet finalized, it is clear that the Social Democrats, the largest opposition party which had been out of power since the 2015 parliamentary elections, have won the elections, and the main populist party, actually there are 3 right-wing populist national conservative parties in Denmark. The largest one of these, the Danish People's Party, has lost over half of its seats and therefore will lose its so-called balance of power position in the Danish parliament. Very likely there will be a left center or then left-wing government in Denmark after the elections, and the current prime minister, liberal leader Mr. Lars Løkke Rasmussen, will have to resign. According to the Wikipedia article, in mainland Denmark, the following parties cleared the 2% vote threshold and therefore received seats. Technically, a party can win seats even if its national share of the vote, that is in mainland Denmark, falls below 2%, but in practice this almost never happens. In mainland Denmark, there are 10 multi-member electoral districts, from which 135 parliamentarians are elected. And then there are so-called 40 leveling or compensation seats to address imbalances between the percentages of votes and seats at the national level. And in order to win any of these, parties must get at least 2% of the national vote in mainland Denmark. In the Faroe Islands and Greenland, because from both of those self-governing regions, only 2 members are elected. Typically, 1 seat goes to one party and another seat goes to another party. So there the results are not that proportional, obviously. In mainland Denmark, the Social Democrats received, according to the preliminary results, 25.9% of the vote and 48 seats, 1 more than in 2015. The so-called right-wing liberal party Venstre, which had ruled Denmark since the 2015 parliamentary elections, did 9 seats, rising to 43 seats. However, the national conservative populist right-wing, strongly Eurosceptic, strongly anti-Islam, and quite strongly anti-immigrant Danish People's Party, which had propped up the liberal conservative government, which had been established in 2016 by Prime Minister Rasmussen in an alliance with the Liberal Alliance and the Conservative People's Party, suffered massive losses, falling to just 8.7% of the vote and 16 seats. If these results are confirmed, it represents a loss of 21 seats compared to the 2015 parliamentary elections. The centrist liberals or social liberals literally translated radical liberals, radicale venstre, received 8.6% of the vote and 16 seats, doubling their caucus or parliamentary group. The Socialist People's Party, who typically support the Social Democrats, received 7.7% of the vote and 14 seats, doubling their caucus. The Red-Green Alliance, which combines communists, left-wing socialists, and Greens or environmentalists, took 6.9% of the vote and 13 seats, losing one. The center-right Conservative People's Party advanced in a notable way, rising to 6.6% of the vote and 12 seats, doubling its caucus. The environmentalist party, the Alternative, however, suffered major losses, dropping to 3% of the vote and 5 seats, losing 4. The New Right, which alongside the Danish People's Party and the Hard Course represents the populist right-wing national conservative, Eurosceptic, anti-Islam and largely anti-immigration section of the Danish political spectrum, was able to clear the vote threshold with 2.4% of the vote and 4 seats. The Liberal Alliance, which had been a coalition partner of the right-wing Liberals and the Conservative People's Party since 2016, suffered massive losses, dropping to 2.3% of the vote and just 4 seats, losing 9. Two parties narrowly failed to clear the 2% vote threshold needed normally to make it to the parliament from mainland Denmark. The far-right hard-line party, which, for example, favors banning Islam in Denmark and deporting the Muslim immigrants, or at least allowing no new Muslim immigrants there. It received 1.8% of the vote, and the center-right Christian Democrats, who took 1.7% of the vote. And then the Klaus Riskær Pedersen party received 0.8% of the vote. The independents took 0.1%. In the Faroe Islands, the Union Party took 1 seat, and the Social Democrats the other one. The Republic Party lost its single seat. So far, there are no results available for Greenland. So what does this result mean? In all likelihood, it means that the Social Democrats, with their new leader, Mette Frederiksen, will be able to form a left-wing government or left-center government. They're likely coalition partners, the Social Liberals and the Socialist People's Party, according to the preliminary results, took 30 more seats, and since the Red-Green Alliance typically supports Social Democrat-led minority governments from the opposition parties, opposition benches, this would already translate into a narrow majority in the Danish parliament, 91 seats out of 179. In addition, the Faroe Islands Social Democratic member of the Danish parliament would support such a government. Yeah, the irony is that although 2 of the 3 parties of the outgoing liberal conservative government, meaning the right-wing Liberals and the Conservative People's Party, gained a total of 15 seats, the third one, Liberal Alliance, lost 9 seats. We will then see what happens in the next few days and weeks. In Denmark, like in the neighboring Norway to the north and Sweden to the west, and Sweden to the east and northeast, typically there are minority governments which, however, have a so-called supply and confidence agreement with one or more opposition parties. In other words, one or more opposition parties agree to support such minority governments on the questions of the budget and of the confidence votes in order to prop them up in power. The two Nordic republics, Iceland and Finland, typically have majority governments which don't, if they have a clear enough majority in the parliament, have to look to the opposition parties for support. Finland, incidentally, may already get its new government tomorrow on June the 7th. And it will be a left-center government with, depending on how you count, 2 or 3 left-wing parties, the Social Democrats, Greens, and Left-Wing Alliance, and then 2 centrist parties, centrists and Swedish People's parties. Denmark, just like Norway and Sweden, is a parliamentary monarchy where in practice the monarch, in the Danish case, current case since 1972, the Queen is a figurehead, head of state with no effective political power, and the Prime Minister or the head of government is the country's executive leader. However, the Queen does have, and the monarchy overall does have quite much emotion and tradition related support. While there are Republicans, small r Republicans in Denmark, who would like to turn the country into a republic, in practice, by democratic means, this is impossible because a great majority of the Danes who care about the country's political system support the continuation of the current parliamentary monarchy.